Imagine a doctor in Chicago earning $380,000 a year, driving a leased luxury BMW, and sending her children to the most prestigious private schools. On most weeknights, her family dines at upscale restaurants, and her monthly mortgage payment on a beautiful home is $4,200. On paper, she is the very definition of wealth and success. In reality, this high-earning professional is in a state of constant financial fragility. She cannot come up with $5,000 for an emergency without selling an asset or sinking further into debt. This scenario is not a rare hypothetical. It is a statistical reality for a massive portion of the American upper middle class. According to a 2025 Goldman Sachs report, 41% of Americans earning between $300,000 and $500,000 are living paycheck to paycheck. Even more startling is that 40% of those earning over $500,000 annually report the exact same lack of financial cushion. These individuals earn more in a single month than many of their fellow citizens earn in an entire year, yet they are paralyzed by the same financial anxiety as those earning a fraction of their salary. We are conditioned to believe that income is the ultimate solution to financial problems. We assume that once we hit six figures, our stress will vanish, and once we cross $500,000, money will become irrelevant. However, the data tells a completely different and counterintuitive story. You are witnessing what is known as the high-income poverty trap, a cycle where people earn more, spend more, save the same percentage of nothing, and eventually reach their mid-50s wondering where all that capital went. This trap does not care about the size of your paycheck. It only cares about how much of that paycheck you actually keep. The trap operates on a financial pattern that affects millions of Americans who never see it coming because they equate a high income with guaranteed security. In 2025, research indicated that Americans earning $100,000 annually were actually more likely to report living paycheck to paycheck than those earning only $50,000. Higher income often correlates with higher reported financial strain because of the expectations that come with it. A PIMP study found that 48% of those earning $100,000 or more feel they are living paycheck to paycheck, and even among those earning over $200,000, 36% report the same struggle. Bank of America defines paycheck to paycheck as spending more than 95% of income on necessities. By this metric, approximately 20% of households earning over $150,000 qualify as living on the edge. These are not people who are bad at math. They are often highly educated professionals who understand compound interest and retirement projections. They know they should be saving more, but the trap is a psychological one, not an arithmetic one. When income increases, spending tends to increase in direct proportion, a phenomenon known as lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation happens so gradually that it is almost invisible. A $15 lunch slowly becomes a $25 lunch, a Honda is traded for a BMW, and an adequate apartment is replaced by a large house with guest rooms that are rarely used. Each upgrade feels reasonable and earned, and at the moment, the math technically works. However, as these upgrades compound, savings remain flat. The most dangerous part is that once a luxury becomes a routine part of your life, downgrading feels like deprivation rather than a return to normalcy. The research on actual millionaires provides a stark contrast to the lives of these high earners caught in the trap. The classic study, The Millionaire Next Door, revealed that most millionaires do not look like the stereotypical image of wealth. They typically live in average neighborhoods, drive older cars, and rarely display their net worth. In fact, 94% of millionaires still live in middle-class or modest neighborhoods, and over 62% of everyday millionaires continue to budget, shop for deals, and avoid extravagant lifestyles even after crossing the $1 million threshold. The typical millionaire has rarely spent more than $399 on a single article of clothing, and about 60% live in homes worth less than $500,000. Consider Warren Buffett, who famously still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for just over $31,000. This creates a fascinating paradox. The people who actually accumulate significant wealth often behave nothing like the people who merely appear wealthy. The doctor in the BMW looks richer than the plumber driving a 10-year-old truck, but the plumber may have $2 million in investments while the doctor has a negative net worth. To understand where you stand, you can use the formula created by the authors of The Millionaire Next Door. Multiply your age by your pre-tax annual household income and then divide by 10. This number represents what your net worth should be for your level of income. Those who exceed this number are prodigious. Accumulators of wealth pause, while those below it are under accumulators of wealth, UAWs. A janitor earning $50,000 can be a PAW, while a doctor making $700,000 can be a UAW if they are spending their income rather than building wealth. Most high earners fail this test dramatically. A Charles Schwab survey in 2025 found that Americans believe they need $2.3 million to be considered wealthy and $839,000 just to feel comfortable. Meanwhile, the median net worth of an American household is actually closer to $193,000. When you earn $400,000 but have a net worth of only $300,000, you don't feel wealthy, you feel behind. This is the hedonic treadmill in action. You keep running to stay in place, but the goalposts keep moving. As soon as you reach a milestone, the definition of enough shifts further out of reach. High-income households are also surprisingly prone to debt. In 2025, households earning over $100,000 had an average credit card balance of $12,760. The top 20% of earners actually hold 35% of total U.S. credit card debt. While lower-income families often use credit for survival, high-income families use it to maintain a lifestyle that fits their income but leaves no margin for error. This leaves both groups in the same place. Owing money with interest accruing, total U.S. credit card debt hit a record $1.277 trillion in late 2025, a 66% increase since the pandemic lows of 2021. For high earners, debt is becoming chronic. Roughly 36% of credit card holders earning $100,000 or more carry a balance from month to month, and 61% of Americans with credit card debt have been in that debt for at least a year. The fixed cost trap is particularly dangerous here. A family earning $80,000 might spend $2,000 on housing, while a family earning $300,000 might spend $8,000. Both feel equally constrained because the higher-income family has simply scaled their problems. Lifestyle commitments like private school tuition, multiple car payments, and country club memberships function as fixed costs once established. Reversing these patterns is emotionally difficult. Pulling a child out of private school or selling a vacation home can feel like a public admission of failure. Because of this, many high earners are responding to financial pressure by delaying dreams rather than changing habits. Research shows that 47% are delaying vacations and 31% are stalling home renovations because they recognize they are stretched too thin. The truth is revealed in the savings rate. In December 2025, the U.S. personal savings rate stood at a meager 3.6%. Contrast this with the pandemic peak of 33.8% in April 2020, when spending opportunities vanished and Americans briefly experienced the power of aggressive saving. High earners might save more in absolute dollars, but their savings rates are often just as anemic as lower earners because their spending scales with their income. A $300,000 earner saving 4% is just as vulnerable to disruption as a $75,000 earner saving the same percentage. Actual wealth builders, however, typically invest at least 15% of their income before paying for anything else. They treat savings as a non-negotiable expense. This behavior is becoming harder due to lifestyle creep, fueled by the visibility of social media. We no longer just compare ourselves to our neighbors. We compare ourselves to the filtered, curated highlights of the top percent one. High earners feel pressure to match peer spending even when the math doesn't support it. Discretionary spending also plays a role. Small, recurring costs for convenience, like food delivery, which costs high earners an average of $179 a month, add up to thousands of dollars a year. The high-income version of this involves first-class flights and premium hotels, which quickly compound into a lifestyle that requires a full, uninterrupted income to maintain. Real millionaires, by contrast, are selectively frugal. They may spend on experiences they value but cut costs ruthlessly on things that don't matter to them. Regional factors also inflate expectations. In high-cost cities like San Francisco or New York, the perceived threshold for wealth can jump to $4.4 million. High coastal salaries are often canceled out by coastal prices, leaving high earners feeling genuinely constrained. Yet, 79% of millionaires are self-made and reached their status through consistent behavior over an average of 28 years. Most didn't cross the million-dollar mark until age 49, proving that the path to wealth is usually gradual and boring rather than sudden and dramatic. Breaking the trap requires asking an uncomfortable question. What is all this spending actually for? A doctor making $380,000 could save $100,000 a year if she chose different trade-offs. It means accepting that a BMW can be a Honda and that certain status symbols mostly impress people who don't truly matter. Reversing the pattern requires auditing every recurring expense to see if it delivers actual value. The most effective strategy is the automation principle. Spend what is left after saving, rather than saving what is left after spending. A $400,000 earner who automates $120,000 into investments will build generational wealth while still living on $280,000, a sum that still provides an incredible life. The math of the trap is staggering. A $300,000 earner saving 30% will accumulate $4 million over 20 years, while a 5% saver with the same income will have only $650,000. That $3.35 million difference is the true cost of the trap. Ultimately, the high-income poverty trap persists because people optimize for lifestyle, maximizing current consumption at the expense of future flexibility. Real financial security comes from optimizing for wealth, accepting current constraints in exchange for future options. The math isn't complicated, but the behavior is. Income alone never solved a financial problem. Only the intentional choice to keep a portion of what you earn can create the security you've been searching for. Breaking the trap starts with admitting that more money was never the answer. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for weekly videos on wealth, freedom, and smarter money habits. Comment below